Today we're going to be talking about 1922. This is a Netflix original movie that was just released on October 20th. And it's a horror movie based on a novella, short story, by Stephen King. So the movie stars Thomas Jane, Molly Parker, and Neal McDonough. And it's written and directed by Zach Hilditch, who before this has some writing and directing credits, but not any movies that I've heard of before. The movie is okay. There's some issues with it, and there's some good points to it. So to start with, though, I'll explain what the movie's about, and there are some spoilers in the explanation because what happens pretty early in the movie, and it's actually something that's spoiled in the description, the plot synopsis of the movie. If you go to IMDb, and it's spoiled in the trailer. So, um, spoiler alert, but I'll go ahead and explain it. And what happens is Thomas Jane is married to Molly Parker, and they have a 14-year-old boy. And this it's happens in 1922, and they have a farm. And then one of her relatives dies. Molly Parker's relatives dies and leaves them about 100 acres of land, and they already had 80. So what he wants to do, like he's a farmer, he was born and raised a farmer. That's all he knows. What he wants to do is combine that land together and make a much bigger farm and be more successful at farming. But she hates the farming life, which is something that he really resents. And she basically wants to go to the city and like sell everything, go live in the city, and open up a dress shop is what her plan was. So they argue about this for a while, and then eventually they're talking about getting divorced. She's talking about taking the kid and the land and leaving, and selling off the land and then leaving. And basically, what happens is he convinces the son to help him murder his wife. And this is what happens in the beginning of the show. So the rest of the movie is dealing with how that affects them and how it affects the son, and basically a curse that's been put on him and the land, and how he deals with that. The cinematography, the direction is really nicely done. For 1922, it looks like 1922, and there's a lot of sweeping shots of farmland, and the landscapes look great. So it is a very good looking movie, and they did a really good job of making a period piece for 1922. Thomas Jane does speak in kind of a weird. It's not an accent; it's just the way he talks, like through clenched teeth all the time. I'm guessing that's just part of the character that he's portraying, but it is a little off-putting, and sometimes it's a little hard to understand what he's saying. And but the all the acting is good. Like Neal McDonough is great. The Molly Parker isn't in it for very long, but she's great in it. And it's mostly about Thomas Jane, though. Pretty much the entire movie is following him, and it's framed by him basically sitting in a hotel room as an old man, writing this story down. So this is him. This is what he's done in the past, basically, and it's a confession. So you know that he lives at least that long, which is kind of it's a little bit of a put off because you know that nothing's going to happen to him until he's an old man. But enough happens that it is suspenseful. It is a little bit scary. There are a few scares in it, but overall, it's more of a slow burn throughout the whole movie, like just wondering what's going to happen and seeing the effect that it has on him, on his son, who is definitely very affected by what happened. And a lot of it seems like it's kind of starting to tell a telltale heart story. Like he just, even though he got away with it and he's getting away with it, he's feeling really bad about it. But it's hard to tell, and that's part of the writing problem. Is that there's parts where he like Thomas Jane is doing some really great acting, and he's showing that he's suffering, he's showing anguish, but you don't know if that's because of what's happening to his farm or his son, or because he feels guilty about what happened. Mostly, it seems to not be guilt. It just seems to be about worrying about his son and worrying about his farm. But it's hard to tell because they don't really tell you that. And considering that it's being told through a confession that he's writing, you would think they'd be able to throw in a little bit more explanation, some narration as he's writing, like I felt guilty about this, that kind of thing, but they really don't. And part of it is, like the reason he gets away with it, well, he gets away with it as far as, the law is concerned. But he doesn't get away with it as far as like the supernatural curse that he's put on himself is concerned. But the reason is because in 1922, like he even says this in his confession that, and at that time, what happened between a man and a woman, if the woman disappeared, like there wasn't a lot of repercussions for the man. You just believed him when he said his wife left. And that's what happens in 1922. So that was an interesting part to see. But yeah, as Thomas Jane really does do a very good job, and he's you see all the emotions that he's going through, and most of it is not good. Like a lot of suffering, seeing what's happening to his son, seeing what's happening to this farm that he basically killed for, and the suffering that he goes through. So overall, it is an okay movie. It's not, it's not fast paced. It's a slow burn. It's good to watch. Like I said, the cinematography, the direction, the acting, they're all good. It's just not very fast paced. They basically took a short story by Stephen King and they made it too long. Like they're trying to tell a short story in a long time. And it might have worked better if they just cut it down, because it is like an hour and 45 minutes, I believe, maybe almost 2 hours. If they would have cut that down, cut out some of the slow waiting for something to happen moments, then it might have been more entertaining. But it is worth a watch, just not worth getting too excited about. So that is 1922. It's a Netflix original film, and it's based on a Stephen King novella, short story. And I'm gonna rate it a 6 out of 10. If as far as like an October horror movie, it's not really something that'll get you in the mood for Halloween, but it is something that you might want to watch if you like those kind of movies where it's just, there are things that happen. It's just there's a wait until you get there. So if you like this video, like, share, subscribe, or all the above. Thank you, and have a nice day.